So let's get started.
All right.
Welcome, Amy.
Thanks.
Say hi to all of our Espresso Agent.
Hello, everyone. We're so excited to have you here today. I'm really looking forward to sharing with you some tools that you can use in your business today.
Absolutely. So Amy's been an agent for 12 years. She's been selling for a lot longer than that. Her team here in Cincinnati consists of a buyer's agent, a full-time buyer's agent, as well as an ops manager, Jenny and Terry, and they're obviously very important to Amy's success. She does operate out of the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. In the last 12 months, I checked. In the last 12 months, Amy B, as she's known around here, Amy Broghamer, she has sold 100% of her listings. And that is the name of our course today. Sell 100% of your listings. So not only has she sold 100% of her listings that she's listed in the last 12 months, but 70% of those sold in the first 30 days. And that 70% that sold in the first 30 days actually sold for 99.19% of asking. So that is a pretty amazing track record. And I want to ask you, Espresso Agent peeps, superstars, how would it feel to dial in to your Espresso account, call an expired, and say to them, my name is fill in the blank, and I can help you sell your house. I sell 100% of my listings. I mean, imagine how powerful that branding becomes and that stat becomes behind your brand. I think it will open doors for you, as I'm sure you're going to hear from Amy. It opens doors for her. So let's talk about what we're going to be looking at today. First of all, we're going to see a really detailed version of Amy's her process, and she's done a really nice diagrams to help us get there. But we're going to really focus on how this all builds confidence for you in your pricing and how you price, how you communicate with clients, and in that listing presentation, and how not to get sold by the sellers on their price. Also, how do you set yourself apart from other agents and the competition, and how do you really build rapport with your clients very quickly, not only for the success of getting their house sold, but also for future business. And Amy B has a really strong referral program. As you can imagine, as she performs one way for the client, they really want to become an advocate for her. Also, this process that Amy has put together over time, it's really going to help you identify opportunities for efficiencies and how not to waste your time, waste the seller's time, both in deciding which listings to take, but also selling them faster. I mean, imagine Amy's in and out of the market in, 60 days sometimes or less if she sells it very quickly. So real efficiencies for your team and your time, and what's more important than your time. And then the big one is not leaving money on the table. What does it cost you? If you look back in your last 12 months, how many of your listings did you cancel or expired? And if you had sold them, how much would that mean to you? I really encourage you to go back and do that exercise. It is an eye-opener, and
it's not fun.
It really might make you sick to your stomach. So we're going to give you some nuggets here today. It's obviously not Amy's entire book of ideas because that is a lot, but we're going to give you some nuggets you can take away, and we'll start. So Amy, welcome. Thank you. Let's get started.
I might just note that if they stay until the end of the webinar, they're going to get a couple of nice items and examples sent to them via email. So
perfect. Sounds like I'm in.
All right.
Okay. So as promised, this is your process. This is pretty cool. Steps 1 to 21. Why don't you just walk us through them very briefly, and then we'll dive into a couple of them.
Certainly. Well, this process, there's a lot more to it than this, but I try to make it as simple as possible. And this is also something that I share with my sellers so that they can understand where they're at in the process.
I love it.
So it starts at number 1, I want to sell my house. And I do a phone call, a pre-qualification phone call. And then we make sure to get them our introduction package, which some people would call a pre-listing package.
Got it.
I do a quick site visit to make sure I see what the home has to offer. And then I begin my pricing analysis, which does involve the seller. Step 6, the seller reviews the information before I ever show up at the listing appointment. And then we do what's called a pricing and strategy meeting, which is quite different than a listing appointment as well.
Okay.
Really kind of getting down to the X's and O's.
Look at your little game plan like at football. Nice.
At that meeting, the seller, or shortly after, decides to hire us. They sign a listing contract. We kind of put the whole sale thing on pause while we prepare the property, so we get them prepared for what it's going to take to get the home sold.
Okay.
And we have kind of an automated email system for that. At that point, we send out our stager. We get them a staging report. We may do a pre-inspection at that point before we list the home. The seller is working diligently on getting the home ready, and we're encouraging and helping with vendors and assistance there. Once they're ready, we photograph the home. We prepare the marketing. We list it for showings on the MLS.
Okay. Well, that happens at step 15.
Okay.
All right, I like it.
Yep. Step 16 is to discuss negotiation expectations, making sure that when that offer comes, everybody's level-headed and understands. We talk about potential price adjustment, or we may do the potential price adjustment at 17, but we discuss that in our listing appointment or pricing and strategy meeting. We then negotiate an offer, negotiate inspections possibly, obtain loan commitment, close. 21 steps.
Done. Yep, love it. And I love that you've put this into, obviously, extremely friendly looking version, and that you share it with your clients, because I'm sure this gives you a lot of opportunity to future pace.
Yes.
And set expectations, and everybody wants to be guided and led, and this is probably a good roadmap, huh?
Being a leader is the most important part of being a listing agent, I think. They're looking to the agent to help them through the process, and when you can provide a document like this, that shows them that you've not only thought out the process, but you've put it on paper and shared it with them,
right?
That they can follow along. It's a big deal, because I think a lot of people are kind of flying by the seat of their pants.
Absolutely. And they know others that have come before them that were successful in selling their listing have probably been put into your system as well.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to dive into specifically a couple nuggets that are on that graph. Let's start with one of the most important ones is your pre-qualification phone call. I'm guessing most everybody on this call does something like this. You probably use a script that's been floating around your office or somebody gave you, or something that you've come up with yourself. What I want to know from Amy is, first of all, how did you get to this point for this particular aspect of the listing? What was the process that got you there to where you really believed, I need to have this tool be really effective and really a useful tool to uncover the data I need? So kind of, how did you get here on this point?
I mean, really, Monica, the majority of my process is trial and error, failure, trying. When you make a mistake more than once, it's a decision, right? So I try to avoid making mistakes again and putting in safe fails for myself so that I don't repeat them. Okay. So a lot of the process in general was because I was tired of wasting time or spending too much time. So the pre-qualification questionnaire that I created was because I found myself going on a listing appointment with a seller 3 or 4 times. And I was thinking, this is crazy. Why am I spending, at the time I had the time to do it. But once I started to scale my business and grow, I couldn't be doing that. And so I was very inefficient with gathering the information that I needed. So at that point, I hired a coach and I said, I need help establishing a system to get this information. And we discussed what information I needed in order to verify if it was a deal I wanted to move forward with. And that's how I created my questions. That took 6 years to perfect, I would say.
Got it. I like how you say, I've heard you say before, that you're really trying to disqualify them almost through this process. And that is a mindset shift. I think sometimes we don't ask questions because we don't really want to know, so that we can just keep moving forward, right? And you're just thinking the opposite.
Just the opposite, again, because of the pain that I felt when I didn't ask a key question that I should have asked from the beginning. And had I asked that question in the first 15 to 30-minute call, I could have saved however much $500-ish it cost me to get the listing on the market, all the hours of frustration. I mean, if I would have known an answer to that, a great question is, what do you owe on the property? Back when we were upside down, if I didn't ask that question before we began, I might sell the property and not get paid.
Yes, imagine all of that.
Yeah, and I mean, would you want to know that somebody can't sell their house?
Right.
Well, I would, because I wouldn't want to go through the process and give them hope that we could sell it and then not actually have done the math to make sure.
Got it. Let's dive into a couple of questions that you like and that you use specifically. So the first one, do you have permission to be honest with you? Do I have permission to be honest with you through this process? Why have you come to use this as probably one of your first questions, I'm guessing?
It is, besides asking them how they got my name, which I always want to know.
Good.
I want them to give me permission to be honest with them. It really kind of sets the stage for the rest of the entire process. And it lets them know that I am going to be honest with them, because in a sea of other realtors and so many that we've both seen that just kind of do whatever the seller says, people want honesty. And they want to know if what they're thinking in terms of price or what they're thinking in terms of, you know, timeline is realistic. And if you're not honest with them up front, I think it's going to create some mistrust down the line, and that's going to make it harder to do your job.
I can imagine. And probably when you are having a difficult discussion, you can reference back, hey, you asked me to be honest, and I know this doesn't feel good, but yeah, that's great. Love that. Love that question. What else do you ask?
How would you rate the condition of your home on a scale of 1 to 10? And then they give me a number. And I write it down.
Are they truthful in their number?
Sometimes I have to go back to my checklist and see after I visit the house, what were they thinking? But the best part about the question is the second part, which is, what do you think would take to make it a 10? And when you ask that question, the response in their words is everything that they need to do to get the house ready in general. Or it really kind of gives you insight on the condition. So right here, somebody may say, you know, my house is probably a 6. We haven't kept up with the lawn. We need to do some repairs, you know, and so you kind of get an idea in your head of what all needs to be done. If they say there's large holes in the roof, leaking water, maybe that's on a listing you want to take on right now. I don't know. Or if they say, you know, well, we just need some minor paint touch-ups, so you know, or they'll say, well, my dog destroyed the carpet. And I literally read in the paper, dog destroyed the carpet, because if you use their words with them later, that's going to be so much faster for them to, like, get on with it.
And then you don't have to be the bad guy saying, oh my gosh, your carpet is in really bad shape here.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it. What else?
I find everyone has a price in mind of what they feel their home is worth. What is yours realistically?
So I think from my interactions with agents and training and coaching, people have trouble with this one, asking this, because I think they think in their head, well, the sellers think I'm supposed to bring the number. And if I ask them about a number, you know, and sometimes probably sellers even say, well, that's what you're here for, right? So how does this fit in, and what's your experience with really asking this question?
So the dynamic of this question is to make sure that they are realistic, or they have realistic expectations, okay? So if they do say something like, well, that's your job, or, you know, I explain to them from the beginning of the pre-qualification call the process that I'm going to take them through, and I discuss that I go through a 3 to 4 hour pricing exercise at my office. Okay, so sometimes I'll even add to this question, you know, like I said before, I'm going to analyze the value of your house at my office, and that takes about 3 to 4 hours. What I want to find out from you first is I find that everybody sort of has price in mind of what they think their home is worth. What is yours?
I love that.
And, you know, they give you a number. Sometimes if they don't, if they say, I don't know, I have no idea, that's what I'm having you here for. And I'll say, well, if you had to guess, what would you say? Because really what I'm looking for is where their brain is going there. Is it going to, well, I need to make X so I can buy this next house? Or is their brain going to, well, my neighbor's house sold for X? Or we want to make money, or we don't want to lose money, or, you know, you got to know where they're going with that. So you kind of have to try to probe to get some type of answer, so that you know where they're going with it. And answers to this can be really identifying in terms of their personality and their motivation.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. So you have an actual form you're filling out, you grab every time you get a call, and you're going through, and I've seen your forms actually, you're writing almost everything. Nothing is left in your mind.
Sometimes I even have to tell the client, like, I'm writing your answers down, so just give me a minute if you got it. Yeah, but the key is writing down every word they say, especially if they're going to say, you know, in this price one, well, our neighbor sold for $320,000, and then the other one sold for $340,000. So I'm writing down those numbers so that I can go back and look up those houses and send them to them and tell them why they are not exactly comps to their house.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because if that's their reference point of value, I need to address that.
For sure. Good.
And if I don't write it down, I'm not going to remember it when it comes time to go back through. And then I also let them see in our pricing and strategy meeting, this is my questionnaire, and I wrote all your answers down, and then I'll go back through it just to validate everything.
Okay, great. And again, this list is a hodgepodge of things you've gathered from
12 years of experience.
12 years of probably trial and error. And
a lot of failure. I would start with asking a question a certain way, and then I would realize that I'm not getting the answer I'm looking for, so then I changed the words. And this is one of the only pieces that I follow word for word. I don't ad-lib on almost any of it.
Love it. Okay. Yep. All right. Let's go down your path here a little bit and talk about your introduction package, which again, probably most people think of as a pre-listing package or a pre-listing approach, right?
Yeah.
Do you send this every time? What form does it take? What's in it? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, the introduction package is something that I created over time. Again, trial and error, failure. I started with a really nice folder and some really pretty papers in there, and what I determined was the logistics as I started to grow my business and scale my business, it became too much for me to print everything out, to put it in order, to get in the folder, to get somebody to drive it to the house. You know, sometimes my listings are 30 minutes away. That's an hour in the car away from doing other things. So I determined that if I had to deliver a physical package, it probably wasn't going to be consistent. And I felt like this information needed to be given to them in advance of the meeting. And it was that important. I needed to make sure that they were getting the information. So I created a email video process to deliver my pre-listing inspection. And that is automated. And I just click a button, and I know that every single time, every single person is getting every email I want. And if I go back, I can verify that they got the emails and they opened the emails, and I can resend the emails. And
so your pre-listing process is a series of 5 email videos attached to the email, addressing certain aspects of your team or your approach, or what?
Well, let me show you how I put it together.
Okay, let's see.
So the listing package, or the introduction package, came together very early when I was beginning selling real estate. I didn't know a lot. So I found out that NAR every year puts out a profile of home buyers and sellers. It's very interesting, so I would encourage everyone to get a copy. It will tell you in this report what sellers want from the realtor that they hired to sell their home.
Smart.
From literal sellers that sold last year. Okay? So I take that report and I note the things that sellers want. And then I combine that with what me, the super realtor, does best from that same list.
All right.
Okay, so anybody can do this. You guys can do this out there. So determine what you do best in your business that also are the things that they want. It's going to be like you're reading their mind, right? So what that all equals is the Super Realtor's introduction package. So basically you're introducing yourself, your team, your stats, your numbers, all these things that they want. You know, they want to know that you have a marketing plan and a process for marketing your properties. If you do that really well and you use awesome virtual tours, then one of your emails could be, hey, I'm sure you're probably wondering how I market your home. There you go. You know, when you're almost reading their mind before they get there and totally setting you apart from your competition, because other people like me at one point weren't even doing a pre-listing package or delivering something. And the other thing I like about the email concept, being a very tech-oriented person anyway, is that these people can look at this at home, at work, on their phone, on the potty, whenever they want to do this, and watch the videos and get the information.
Right.
And both parties, the wife and the husband, get it at the same time as well.
Nice.
And so we're covering our bases, and they're getting the information that they're curious about, and we're getting all of that out of the way.
Perfect. So you're pairing up something you do already have confidence in with something you know from NAR that sellers want already. Not everything, probably, not the entire list.
There's
just
like
your
10 or 15 things on the list.
Yeah. All right. And you're picking the highlights. All right. And what else are you including in those emails? So there's a video of you with some...
So you want to know my bonus nuggets?
Yes, please.
So the key here, not only is the process of you doing a pre-listing package or an intro package going to set you apart from other agents because no one else does it,
Right.
but if you're able to deliver it in video, you're going to build rapport and trust in such a quick amount of time that by the time you end up at their front door to meet them for the first time at the pricing and strategy meeting, you may get a hug. That's that hug I talked about in the video. They already know you, like you, trust you, because they've seen 5 videos of you, and you know, it only takes 7 seconds to build rapport and trust on video.
Right.
7 seconds.
Amazing. I love this idea.
And they've already seen your face. They already understand the tone of your voice, your demeanor, the way you can confidently explain on video that you know what you're talking about. It's just a complete game changer, and less than 5% of agents right now are using video in their business.
Wow. My aha on this as I'm sitting here listening to you is when you do the video, it's a controlled environment. You get to make sure your message is being crafted the way you want it, and you're not leaving anything to chance that happens on that day. So you show up for your listing appointment, you've had a bad day, and you're worn out, and your message changes, or you're intimidated by the seller for some reason, and your message changes, or the dog is there, or the kid is crying, or whatever. Their first impression of you is exactly how you want it to be. And you're really controlling that. I love that about this. Smart.
And they can repeat it as many times as they want.
Right. Pause it, whatever.
Yep, absolutely.
I like it. Okay, cool. So you've sent these videos out, you've probably done a quick 5 to 10 minute tour of the property, so you've seen it, and now you're going to do your homework, right? And you're going to involve them in the homework in a way, right? So you have a bunch of different pricing tools that you use. How do you decide, so here's a list of them.
Yeah.
How do you decide what you're using when, or do you use them all the time? How does that work?
I use them based on what I need to accomplish.
Okay.
And some of them I use every single time. So the MLS is a great tool. Every one of us have. And the most important thing, which I think we're going to dig out in a minute, is a couple of emails that I send, sold and active emails to sellers. I think that's monumentally the most important thing that translates to the seller,
Okay.
if you will.
Okay.
We also have some pulse reports that we create. We look at showings and showing history as a tool. Sometimes we'll pull out an appraisal tool, so we'll recommend an appraisal if we're not on the same page with pricing.
Got it.
I always do a net sheet so we understand all the numbers and we lay that out in front of them before we begin the process. There's a lot of visuals that we use. A lot of the visuals that we use come from the Shift book.
Okay.
It really helps the seller understand these concepts that are so ingrained in us as agents.
Okay.
And we have a couple of really nice analogies that we use. So really, it's a bag of tools, and when you go on a job, you don't always need all the tools. But, you know, you got them in your bag in case you need them.
What's a pulse report? What do you mean by that?
The pulse report is a way to go in the MLS and look at average sale prices in each year. Okay. So if in 2008 you bought your house, the average sale price was X, and you've seen prices go up, you've seen it come down, so what is it year over year today?
Got it.
You know, because such fluctuation in the market, people tend to identify more or drill into the highest price they've ever seen when they need to know that things have gone up and down, or
so it's like a
the
stock
trend.
report.
Kind of the trend.
So the trend report of the median prices in their area.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Well, why don't you show us, I know you brought like an example of some language you use in an email.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that?
So this is an email that I send out, and we send 2 emails out to the sellers when we're inside of our pricing homework, if you will. As agents, we always go in and we want to see what has sold recently, right? So that we can price the property based on what an appraiser is going to say when the buyer comes along.
Right.
We also want to compare the home to the competition that they're going to be facing when we enter the market. So as agents, we're looking at those things anyway. What I do is I pull the ones that I think are most compatible or realistic and send them to my seller so that they can see what I'm seeing, and we're on the same page when we meet for the pricing and strategy session.
So you're getting this out of the way before that meeting?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I don't want to be sitting in front of them when they realize that things aren't the way they thought.
Right.
Because, first of all, I don't want to be sitting in front of them, and second of all, they're going through a whole bunch of emotional stuff, and they're probably not going to hear anything else I have to say.
Right. I think that's really true.
The other thing is this gives them some time with the information. If they're highly analytical, they're going to want some time. They're not going to appreciate me showing up with the information and then pulling it from them, right?
Right.
So this just gives more time for people to absorb and assess the information. Sometimes they don't even look at it, and that's fine too. Everybody's different.
Okay.
But this is a great technique when you know that realistic expected price is higher than is reality, and then you send them what has sold recently, and they get their own reality check. And I've received emails back from this before saying, well, I guess I'm not getting $350 for my house.
What a relief to get that email.
And then my job's done for me.
Yeah, exactly. And you put them in sort of the co-pilot seat with you.
They're making the decisions with me.
Right. I like this.
Yep. And it's a mutual interview process.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if at the end of this meeting we're not on the same page with price, then we can choose which next steps we each want to take.
So you guys can use this language. You can tweak it if you like, but I think it's pretty straightforward, and it seems like we'll get a response most times.
It just guides them as to what to be looking for, and again, we're sending the full listing so that they can see all the pictures and really compare their kitchens and bathrooms and all those things.
All right, sweet. Okay, let's look back at our path to success here that you've drawn. So number 2, we talked a little bit about some of the pre-qual questions. Certainly there's a whole form there. And then the introduction package is number 3, which is sort of the pre-listing process, which you're doing in 5 videos. And are you attaching any documents to those videos?
The videos themselves are tagged, and then some of the videos do reference possibly a blog article, so we'll have a link on there.
Okay.
Or if we're referencing our marketing efforts, we'll put a link to a virtual tour that we've done.
Okay.
So the process that we send those emails, we can verify that they've looked at them, opened them, what they've clicked on, what they haven't clicked on.
Nice. And you don't attach any documents to it for a reason, right?
We don't attach any documents to it. We add the links in the email because a lot of times when you attach documents to something that could be considered spammy,
Okay.
it's,
not gonna get it.
yeah, so we keep it all inside the email.
Makes sense. Okay, so you're doing the videos, you go out and you do a quick 5 to 10 minute tour, then you do your homework, you involve them, the sellers are reviewing the information, and then you go out and you do your thing at the pricing strategy meeting, which I think is such a great way to say listing presentation. It's so much more cooperative, I think. So they hire you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you do? That just seems like the first step. What do you do to set the expectations for the rest of 9 through 21?
Yeah, well, 10 is really important,
Okay.
and that's another automation that we do, kind of like the 5 steps.
Okay.
We have I think it's a 7-step expectations from now that you've signed the contract to work with our team and hired our team.
Nice.
These are the next things that we need you to know about.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that always comes up is, well, what am I including in the sale of my house? So we list out what the contract says so that they know what that is before we list the house.
Okay.
Different things like this is how you schedule your pre-inspection. This is what's going to happen when the stager comes. So that these are all things that we would normally tell them, but we're saving our time and we're delivering it to them when they want to receive it. It's sitting in their inbox.
The video.
And we continue to make ourselves present with them because this is kind of the time where it's a lull.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to keep in front of them and keep them on track towards getting that house on the market.
It also strikes me that like when you said a lull, a lot of times we're spinning our wheels behind the scenes getting ready, and they don't know what we're doing. They don't feel that at all. So those videos probably help them.
Makes us look like we're doing something.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Absolutely. And it's a great opportunity to allow me to future pace them at that point.
Okay.
As to what the expectations are moving forward. So we talk a little about showing expectations, which all of these things, by the way, Monica, I realize, they seem real common sense.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you, all of these things are on this list for a very painful experience that I had that caused me to put them on a list.
At one time or another.
It would, yes. I can almost tell you every single one. We're not going to go into that, but that's why these are on the list. And this is School of Hard Knocks Amy 101, basically.
I love it.
So showing expectations, negotiating expectations, pricing adjustments, when we're going to do those, what they look like, how they're done. We talk about time boundaries, when expectations are for talking and meeting and doing phone calls, and then the online signature tool that we use when we negotiate the properties.
And you're just letting them know that that's going to be happening, that they will be using this tool. And
we explain it, we introduce it, so that when we need it, it's not the first time they've heard of it.
It's super sad that you need to future pace some of these things because you're right. You guys out there as well, think this is really common sense. But if you've only sold 2 houses in your whole life, you may not be even the least bit clued in on how to set your house up for a showing.
Right.
Or how to treat you as an agent, or what to expect, it's really kind of sad that we have to do this, but I love that you're doing it because so many of us don't do it. And then we regret it.
You know what, I don't think it's sad necessarily. From our perspective it is because we feel like it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
But again, if you put yourself in your seller's position, which we should all be doing as listing agents and having empathy, they're going through so much. Half their clothes are put away. They don't know where anything is.
Right.
Their kids not sleeping in their normal room because they had to adjust the rooms for staging reasons. They're trying to keep the house clean. It's
Right.
There's a lot of emotional stuff that's going on their end, let alone whatever the reasons are why they're selling the house.
You got it.
And then, so we're just trying to make it a no-brainer for them. And one of the things that my coach told me that was a huge thing for me back when I was trying to streamline my process is you're a leader and they're hiring you to lead them through this process. And, you know, I've been associated with processes before. For example, my son got tubes put in his ears. I didn't know how that worked, but I counted on the nurses and the doctors to tell me what's happening next, and I just followed their lead. That's what people want from us.
That's a professional.
That's a professional. That's not an agent saying, well, what do you want to happen next? We're leading you through. And it's comforting from somebody that doesn't know what they're doing going to surgery for the first time. So if somebody's selling a home for the first time or hasn't sold a home in 20 years, it's totally different now. Totally different.
I agree. The one I want you to highlight here, because we're all wondering, is time boundaries. Because I don't think many of us have those in this business. But we should, and it's apparently possible, because what I will share with you is Amy really does not work evenings or weekends unless she's negotiating the contract. So we can all learn. This is going to be a nugget for you guys. If nothing else, take this. How do you have that conversation? What does that sound like from the meetings to everything else?
From the very beginning, I outlined for them what my time availability is. Whether I'm telling them verbally on that pre-qualification phone call, you know, say I get a lead-in. Somebody wants to sell their house and talk with me. I'll email them back and give them some times that I'm available. Those times are always during the day. So we find a time that works. When we do that phone call, that's during business hours. That's when I operate, during business hours. When we do the site visit for 5 or 10 minutes, I go during business hours. So I arrange access to the house while they're maybe at work or they meet me there or something like that. Then when we schedule our pricing and strategy meeting, since I've already been to the house and I'm saving time by going back to the house, listing appointments tend to take longer when you're sitting in somebody's living room or dining room. So I bring them to my office, or I'll meet them at their office during work hours. I'll meet them as early as 6 a.m. at lunch, and then I'll tell them my last meeting of the day is at 3 p.m. So I'll give them the range of time that they have to both get on the same page and meet me. That's the third time that I'm giving them times during the day, and they start to catch on to that.
Training them.
Yep. And at any point they say, can't you just do this, you know, on a Saturday or during the evening? You know, I can make those decisions myself. I can tell you that I don't think I've done a listing appointment or a pricing and strategy meeting on a weekend in probably a year. I mean, and maybe once a year I'll do that. Every once in a while I'll do an evening. If there's just some serious issues, we do Skype. We can do conference calls. There's a lot of ways around it. But, you know, I do tell people if they want to meet on an evening or weekend, you know, evenings and weekends are reserved for my family, and it's a chance for me to recharge from the week, just like it is for you. So I only negotiate offers, and I need to really kind of keep that time available to negotiate offers, because those are sort of
On the weekends.
busy times to negotiate. So it's very easy, and we have a couple of other tricks that we use when we're listing a property to make sure that we're working during business hours. And sometimes it's also important to share with the other agent what your expectations of time are, because I've received text messages and phone calls at 3 a.m. before.
And the first time you answer one of those, now you're training them on how to. I do that sometimes.
Do not do it. Yep.
All right. How about another one on this list? Showing expectations.
Certainly. Showing expectations. This is, again, certainly almost common sense.
Should be.
Okay? Right? So this is the document that you'll get when you make it to the end of the webinar today. It is what we call our pantry pinup. It goes in the pantry. I literally tape it inside the door of the pantry once I'm there taking pictures and getting ready. Basic stuff like opening the blinds and the curtains. You wouldn't believe how many listings you walk into and everything's shut up and the lights are off, right? So this is even something that you can, if you have a family and you have kids, you can say, you take this one, you take this one, you take this one, you get out of the house, you're done.
Perfect.
So it's just a really quick and easy way to help people when, again, they've got so much else going on. This just is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It makes it easy for them.
Sure. I love it.
So that's your bonus today.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so all of these, let's look at an example. All of these systems and tools and models that you're using, you've got many examples, I know, but this one was pretty dramatic. So just give us the highlights of how this deal went down for you.
Yeah, so this happened earlier in the beginning of the year. These people called me after having been on the market for 453 days with 2 different realtors and 4 different listings with those realtors. When I did my site visit and then we met for the pricing and strategy meeting, of course I asked them for permission to be honest with them, and I told them that I felt like the property was abandoned, it was dirty, it was freezing cold, it was just not welcoming. Just based on my experience, I felt like a single woman might want to buy the house, just based on the size and kind of the general location and amenities. And so I encouraged them to clearly clean the house, make some modifications. You know, it had been vacant for 2 years.
Wow.
So some maintenance was deferred. There were spiders everywhere. So we got it clean. We even made some paint updates. We staged it. It looked really cute in the pictures and when people went through. So it was really engaging that emotional side of buyers. And we had a pre-inspection based on the home's age, and it really kind of shook out some of the repairs that needed to be done and deferred maintenance, and really kind of packaged that up really nicely to sort of bulletproof that sale so that there wasn't really anything that would surprise us at that point. And we were able to get that property under contract in 18 days, and we actually had more than one offer. So just by packaging it different and restarting the entire process, we kind of changed the game for them, and they were shocked.
I can imagine. You are officially a super realtor to them.
To them?
Yes.
Yes. Too bad they don't have more houses to sell.
I'm sure they're telling friends and family.
Yes.
Well, that is awesome. All right, so let's see. We'll go to questions here in a minute. I want you guys to know there's some really good nuggets in there. There's some takeaways. Amy's going to follow up with sending you the pantry pin-up. And
I'm also going to send the first email video that I do for my introduction package.
So you guys can see what that email video looks like to introduce the 5 stages of connecting with them.
Yes.
Also, if you're interested, Amy does teach a course on this, and it's a really good one, and it's a lot of content, and it's all of her systems, models, tools, documents where you're just plug and play and putting your logo on it, and you're taking your learning curve. I mean, you could do this. You said, I grabbed all this data.
This is 12 years.
Right. Everybody could do it.
Of information hoarding and, yeah.
And it's just going to cut your time in more than half before you can be saying the same thing that she says, I sell 100% of my listings. So give them just a little bit about the course and how they can get involved if they're interested.
Yeah. So if you like what you saw today and you'd like to get deeper into some of these topics, I'm going to go into infomercial mode on you if you're okay with that. So our course is a 6-week, 90-minute live kind of webinar. And I'm on the call the whole time live, and there's engagement and there's action taking with the tools that you're using in your business immediately so that you can start to see a benefit before we finish the course. They're recorded in case you can't be there live, and you're going to have access to them in case you want to watch it over and over and over.
So 1 day a week for 6 weeks.
1 day a week for 6 weeks. We also have 2 weeks of extras penciled in case we feel like we need to get into something else a little deeper. On top of that, we have this great Facebook mastermind group. Everybody in the course is engaging and talking about what they're doing, and it's just kind of an active environment where you're creating some camaraderie, and you may even get to practice with these people some of these tools because they know what you're doing, and It's a really great atmosphere there on that Facebook Mastermind group. We have document tools, things like the process that we went through on the slide before. This is literally plug and play for you, where you're going to take out this logo and maybe your sign and put in yours. And now you have a very fantastic professional looking process that you can share with your sellers.
And the questionnaire and some of the pricing tools, I mean.
All the documents, you're going to get the whole pre-qualification questionnaire. Again, you can pop in your logo. We've got an agenda for our pricing and strategy meeting. We've got the pantry pinup.
Awesome.
All these things are available to you. I paid for the designer and went through the time and effort and pain to create them, and you're going to just get them as a result of being a part of this course. 2 additional weeks, like I said, of elective 90-minute webinars. You don't have to, but if you want to, and if we have more to discuss, we're going to get into that a little bit more. If you go and participate in every call live, all 6, I'll do a one-on-one call for people with perfect attendance.
Nice.
So it's like a implementation call.
Solving any strategy issues you're having.
Absolutely. Yep. There's going to be a one-day mastermind in Cincinnati before the end of the year where we can interact and engage on these topics. And both of the courses that are still offered this year, they are designed so that they finish up before the holidays and you can hit the ground running in 2017. So the mastermind is going to kind of pull the whole thing together at the end. It's an optional opportunity.
You don't have to come, obviously.
So some of the bonuses, which I'm actually really excited about, we're doing an interview with our inspector. So there's going to be Q&A from an inspector. Also our stager. We're going to give you access to our webinar called Build a Report in 7 Seconds Using Video. We alluded to that a little bit earlier. I teach a class on that and how to do that. We're going to have free trials. Loop has given us a free trial. Premium package for anyone who doesn't already have access. We're doing a challenge inside of BombBomb, which is the video app, and they'll have free access to BombBomb through the whole length of the course. And there's a challenge in there, so we even give you kind of like recommendations on what to do a video on, and so you get really experience, hands-on experience with it. Or sometimes we'll arrange discounts, but what the goal is to show you how to do these things and give you access to the tools without any expense.
Got it.
So we're building all of that in so that you don't have to do anything but sign up for the course.
Nice.
Member VIP benefits. Once you sign up for a course with our company, you're going to receive discounts in the future. We're going to be doing a buyer course just like this for buyers in the future.
That'll be good.
And all of that packaged up. School of Hard Knocks for Amy B, 12 years in the making, $997 for Espresso Agents. And I would venture to say that's less than the cost of one failed sale.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. If your tools help save one expiring listing that I might have,
yep,
or one cancellation, or one just nightmare deal that you just walk away from, it's obviously would more than pay for it. I can't imagine one market that it wouldn't. So.
Absolutely, and one of the courses that we do, we are sharing a kind of a reinvention plan. So all those agents out there that have these listings right now that they're sitting on, we're going to show them how to sort of re-engage that seller to verify if they want to continue on with that listing or what modifications they need to lead that seller to take so that they can get it sold. So
cool.
They can be using this stuff immediately in their business.
There you go.
You can reserve your seat now. I'm going to put the link on the chat. So I'll put this link up and you can just click on the link. Go to amyb.com and then it'll list the 2 courses. So the September 29th starts tomorrow. There are 6 seats left in that course and that ends mid-November. So right before the holidays start, you can start putting things into action, getting things ready, and hit the ground running January 1st.
What time of the day? What day and time?
Thursdays
Thursdays at?
From noon to 1:30 Eastern Time.
Okay.
Again, if you can't make it live, you'll be able to get the recording. We have a member site where you can log in, get the recordings, watch them again and again and again, and have all the documentation right there at your disposal.
So you can go in and grab these.
After they're recorded,
Okay.
you can get them, yes, and then all the documents are in there as well.
Okay.
The October 19th course is a Wednesday course, and again, 6 to 8 weeks there, and that ends just around Thanksgiving, so we'll be able to finish that off right before then, and then you'll have the month of December to really dig in and finalize everything and hit the ground running again in January. So that's what those courses are designed to do, is get you solid before the end of the year.
Is there accountability through the 6 weeks to help move people into action so that it's not like at the end of the 6 weeks you're like, okay, now I have to start, right?
We're actually doing things every week.
Okay, good.
So that you're using the tools and we're sharing what's working and what's not working, and we're able to fix any problems that they're having. And that's what's great about the Facebook group, is the other people in the course are also kind of engaging with you and making sure that they can answer questions or whatever. So it's high influence for me, whereas a lot of these online courses you never engage with the person. So this is a very engaging process, and I'm actually very interested in receiving feedback and making this extremely valuable, even though it's already jam-packed with value there.
Cool. All right, everybody. Is that it?
Yes.
Slides. Thank you for joining us today. Let's look at a few questions if we have anything that's coming through. Do you see any?
Yes. Here we go.
All right.
Are you going to be able to download or look at your process? That is on the webinar, and you'll get a copy, or you'll get a recording of this. So you'll...
Oh, wait, what was the question then now?
Are you going to be able to download or look at your process? This is...
Yes.
So we went over that on the webinar.
And yeah, you can relook at it.
This is actually in the course. We go over this. This is our roadmap for the course that we do.
Or they can remind themselves of it by watching this video.
Yes.
If they want to.
And then Nettie asked, do I share this chart with the seller? Absolutely. This is their roadmap as well in one of our meetings. You do get PDFs of all my documents in the course, and then you're going to get a PDF today of the pantry pinup that will go out.
Now the PDFs, if they need to make changes to it though, how do they do that in the course?
Well, we have those documents available on our member site.
Okay.
And then the designer that we work with creates a special editable document, and then they are going to have to figure out how to put their logo in there.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure it was editable.
Yes, yes. How do I typically book my listing appointments from the pre-qual call, considering you need to email the seller a couple of times before you meet?
Great question.
Monica actually asked me this question earlier, and if I give you just a really basic example, let's say that I get an email from a seller on a Monday, and they say, hey, I want to talk with you about selling my house. Well, then I can't get them on the phone until Tuesday, but on Monday I can start that 5-day drip. So on Monday they're getting an email, an introductory email from me. And then when we talk on the phone on Tuesday, they're getting another email from me plus the phone call. And then on that phone call, if I'm setting up a site visit, maybe that's on Thursday. So then they're getting another email on Wednesday, they're getting an email on Thursday, I'm there on Thursday. And then after I'm doing the site visit, I need 3 to 4 hours to do some pricing work, and then I need to send them that email, so they need a day or two with that maybe. And so I'm meeting them maybe the following Wednesday or Tuesday, so they're getting all of this stuff in a day's time, and it works fine. And so my pricing and strategy meeting generally is within probably 7 days of that initial lead opportunity, give or take with the weekend days, because I don't do appointments on the weekends. So we work that in and keep the process moving pretty quickly from there.
It's a good question.
Any other questions?
Good?
I think.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Hope you guys have an awesome day.